Shedeur Sanders, armed with a name, a brand, and a $275 million bidding war, has every exec, every fan, and every rival franchise holding their breath. His arrival in Cleveland wasn't just about football, it was about a cultural wave. He brought with him Nike drops that sold out in minutes, celebrity endorsements, and a fan following that stretches way beyond the gridiron. So when Baltimore and New Orleans both stepped forward with those jaw-dropping $275 million offers, it wasn't just a move, it was a statement. Baltimore's pitch practically crackled with electricity. Pairing Sanders with Lamar Jackson in a dual quarterback system? It's the kind of thing that sounds like a Madden fantasy until you realize John Harbaugh's the kind of coach crazy enough to try it. Picture Sanders dissecting defenses with surgical precision while Lamar breaks ankles with his speed. That's not just a team, it's a nightmare factory for every defensive coordinator in the NFL. And then you've got New Orleans, leaning all the way into legacy. Their pitch wasn't built on analytics and innovation, it was built on heart. They painted Sanders as the heir to Drew Brees, the savior who could bring glory back to a city that treats football like religion.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
For New Orleans, this isn't about cap space or scheme. It's about culture, identity, and the chance to write a new chapter in the story of a city that never stops fighting. Both offers are heavy, strategic, dripping with vision. And Cleveland? Cleveland is stuck playing catch-up, fumbling with spreadsheets, panicking in back rooms, praying they don't lose the one player who makes them relevant. Here's the ugly truth for the Browns. They don't have the same shine. They don't have the Super Bowl pedigree of Baltimore. They don't have the cultural magnetism of New Orleans. What they do have is desperation. Their pitch boils down to, "We need you. We can't survive without you." But desperation doesn't sell. Not when you're dealing with a player who already commands the kind of influence Sanders does. He's not just playing football, he's shaping narratives, bending economies, moving markets. Nike stock spiked because of him. Celebrities are wearing his merch. Fans outside Cleveland even care what he's doing, and that's not something you can buy with desperation alone. And then there's the silence. Shedeur's silence is the loudest part of this entire saga. Every day he doesn't respond to Cleveland's panic, Baltimore's innovation, or New Orleans' legacy-building pitch, the tension grows. Fans refresh Twitter searching for clues. Analysts dissect his every facial expression in press conferences. Did that smile mean he's staying? Did that shrug mean he's leaving? He doesn't have to say a word, because his silence already speaks volumes. This story is bigger than Cleveland, bigger than Baltimore, bigger than New Orleans. It's about the future of the NFL itself. Because if Shedeur Sanders cashes in on one of these deals, the entire model changes. Rookie quarterbacks won't just be rookies anymore, they'll be cultural commodities. Teams won't just draft players, they'll draft brands. Owners are terrified. They're looking at their balance sheets and realizing that Shedeur has broken the mold. The old system of prove it before you earn it contracts? Gone. The new system? Pay me now because my name alone is worth it. And you can bet college stars across the country are watching closely. They're learning from Sanders that if you build a personal brand, if you capture culture, you can walk into the NFL with leverage most veterans don't even have. This isn't just a contract, it's a revolution. Fans, though, are feeling it the hardest. In Cleveland, the vibe is apocalyptic. Fans are staging protests, making homemade signs, calling into radio shows, begging the team to do whatever it takes. For them, Sanders isn't just a quarterback, he's a lifeline. Losing him would mean more than missing a chance at wins, it would mean losing hope all over again. In Baltimore, the energy is electric. Ravens fans are already imagining Sanders and Lamar hoisting Lombardi trophies together, cementing a dynasty. In New Orleans, it's almost spiritual. The thought of Sanders leading the Saints has people buzzing with the kind of energy you only see when a city feels destiny knocking at the door. Each city has its own version of this dream, but only one will win. And let's talk about Shedeur himself, because he's handling this chaos with a kind of calm that's borderline unreal. Most rookies would crumble under this pressure. Most rookies would be on social media daily trying to calm the storm or shape the narrative. But not Sanders. He's letting the world spin, letting the chaos build, letting everyone else show their cards, while he holds all the power. That's the part that makes him dangerous. He's not just talented. He's composed. He knows his worth. He knows the league needs him more than he needs the league. And when you combine talent, composure, and leverage, that's when you stop being a rookie and start being a force. So what's the play here? If he stays in Cleveland, he risks being swallowed by the franchise's dysfunction. But if he pulls it off, he becomes a legend who breaks the curse. If he joins Baltimore, he steps into a revolutionary system that could redefine football itself. If he goes to New Orleans, he becomes more than a player, he becomes the heartbeat of a city. Each path is tempting. Each path leads to a different kind of immortality. And whichever choice Sanders makes will echo across the NFL for decades. This isn't just about money. It's not even just about football. It's about power. It's about culture. It's about the way the NFL is evolving right in front of our eyes. Shedeur Sanders, barely starting his career, is already holding the league hostage, and he knows it. Now here's where I'll toss it back to you. If you were Shedeur, which road would you take? Would you stay in Cleveland and gamble on being the savior of a cursed franchise? Would you join Baltimore and pioneer a new era of offensive football? Or would you choose New Orleans and step into cultural immortality? Let me know your take in the comments. I want to hear where you stand on this. And if you're hooked on this saga, if you love watching sports and culture collide in real time, then don't just watch, subscribe. Because Shedeur Sanders isn't just chasing a contract. He's rewriting the rules of football itself. And trust me, this story? It's only just getting started. Sanders? He's sitting calmly in the middle of this chaos, almost untouchable. The man hasn't thrown a single playoff pass, but he's already dictating the terms of the NFL's future. That's not hype, that's reality. Baltimore's pitch keeps getting louder. Imagine the film session they're showing him. Lamar Jackson rolling out, linebackers freezing, safeties scrambling, defenders biting on every pump fake. Then suddenly, cut to Shedeur threading a 40-yard dart downfield. Lamar and Shedeur, two forces in one offense. The Ravens are basically saying, do you want to just play football, or do you want to change what football means? That's intoxicating. That's the kind of pitch that doesn't just sell contracts, it sells dreams. But New Orleans isn't backing down either. They've got a completely different vibe. Their pitch isn't technical, it's spiritual. They're walking Sanders through the French Quarter, pointing to murals of Drew Brees, showing him the brass bands, the culture, the life of a city that celebrates its heroes like saints, literally. Their message is, you won't just be our quarterback. You'll be our story. Cleveland? Their pitch is panic. It's spreadsheets, promises, and begging. They're not selling him a dream, they're begging him not to wake up from the nightmare. Here's the wild thing. Shedeur's not just evaluating franchises. He's evaluating history. If he stays in Cleveland, he's got a chance to be remembered as the man who finally lifted the curse, the one who broke decades of futility. That's the hardest path, but also the most legendary. Imagine the documentaries, the 3430s, the statues outside the stadium. But it's also the riskiest, because if Cleveland collapses like it always has, his career could be swallowed whole. Baltimore gives him the chance to be a pioneer. A quarterback who wasn't afraid to reinvent the game itself. His name wouldn't just be on trophies, it'd be in textbooks. Coaches in the year 2040 would be studying the Sanders-Jackson system. And New Orleans? That's cultural immortality. He'd be remembered not just as a player but as a savior. His name would be sung in parades, his jersey woven into the fabric of a city that thrives on resilience. 3 doors. 3 kinds of immortality. But let's dig into the ripple effect, because this isn't just about Shedeur. The league itself is on edge. Other rookies are watching, realizing that Sanders is rewriting the blueprint in real time. Why wait for a contract extension in year 4 when you can leverage your brand, your marketability, and your fan base right out of the gate? College athletes, especially those coming out of the nil era, are licking their chops. They're seeing what Sanders is doing and thinking, that's the model. That's how you flip the system. And owners? They're terrified. Because once one player breaks the structure, the floodgates open. If Sanders lands $275 million before his career truly starts, what happens with the next wave of superstar rookies? How do you stop the precedent once it's set? This isn't just a contract. It's a revolution in disguise. The fans feel it most viscerally though. Cleveland fans are living in dread, pacing like parents waiting for bad news. Some are holding on to faith, believing Sanders will stay and lift them to glory. Others are already grieving, convinced he's gone and that their misery is destined to continue. Baltimore fans are vibrating with excitement. The thought of a Lamar-Shedeur combo has them drawing up plays in their heads, already buying custom jerseys, already calling it the birth of a dynasty. And New Orleans fans? They're practically holding vigils. They're lighting candles in Sanders' name, hoping the universe tilts in their favor. For them, this isn't just business, it's spiritual renewal. But the most fascinating part? Shedeur's composure. This is a 21-year-old sitting in the center of the NFL universe, and he isn't flinching. He isn't panicking. He isn't rushing to make statements or reassure fans. He's letting the noise build, letting the pressure rise, letting everyone else sweat. That kind of calm under fire isn't just rare, it's historic. It's what separates legends from the rest. Because here's the secret: silence is power. And right now, Shedeur's silence is the loudest thing in football. Now think about the symbolic weight of this. If Sanders stays in Cleveland, it's David versus Goliath. The cursed franchise and the quarterback who defied fate. The story practically writes itself. If he goes to Baltimore, it's progress versus tradition. Innovation versus convention. A football experiment so wild it could either break the game or elevate it to something we've never seen. If he goes to New Orleans, it's myth-making. A city in search of its next great hero, a quarterback stepping into a role bigger than football itself. No matter what, Sanders doesn't just win, he defines. He shapes. He leaves fingerprints on the future. Meanwhile, the NFL is scrambling. Tampering whispers are flying. Executives are filing complaints, pointing fingers, saying the system isn't fair. Roger Goodell is pacing in his office, muttering about control and balance. But deep down he knows what's happening. The balance of power is shifting. And it's not shifting to franchises, it's shifting to players, to brands, to icons. And Shedeur Sanders is the spark. So where does this all end? Cleveland's praying for loyalty. Baltimore's pitching revolution. New Orleans is promising immortality. Whichever choice Sanders makes, it won't just change the trajectory of his career, it'll change the trajectory of the entire league. And that's what makes this moment so addictive. It's not just about touchdowns, contracts, or stats. It's about the future of football itself, sitting in the hands of a rookie who refuses to play by the old rules. They know that if Shedeur Sanders bolts for Baltimore or New Orleans, they don't just lose their quarterback. They lose their soul. They lose the one shot they had at burying the Factory of Sadness label that has hung around their neck for decades. Think about the cruelty of it. After years of quarterback failures, Manziel, Mayfield, you name it, Cleveland finally found their guy. Not just a quarterback but a phenomenon. And now, before he's even written his first full chapter, they're staring at the very real possibility that he's already halfway out the door. That's the curse of Cleveland in a nutshell, isn't it? Just when you think you've escaped, the football gods remind you that hope in this city is a rental, not a purchase. Now flip the camera to Baltimore. The Ravens are standing on the edge of something wild. Their pitch to Sanders isn't just "come here, we'll pay you." It's "come here and together we'll terrify the NFL." Imagine the Lamar Jackson-Shedeur Sanders offense. A two-headed monster that forces defensive coordinators to pick their poison every single snap. Blitz Lamar? Sanders torches you. Drop into coverage? Lamar takes off. His chest not checkers. And Baltimore is dangling the chance for Sanders to not just win, but to redefine the game itself. That's intoxicating. That's legacy written in bold print. And you can already see it. Ravens fans foaming at the mouth, sketching plays on bar napkins, imagining highlight reels that break the internet. Baltimore isn't just pitching a job, they're pitching a revolution. Then there's New Orleans. Their pitch is softer but no less powerful. They're not talking about playbooks or cap space. They're talking about heart, culture, belonging. The Saints are looking Sanders in the eye and saying, "You're not just a quarterback here. You're the next chapter of our city's story. You're our heir." New Orleans knows football isn't just entertainment in their city, it's identity. It's family gatherings, it's pride, it's survival after heartbreak. Drew Brees was more than a quarterback there, he was a symbol of resilience. And now they're handing that mantle to Sanders before he's even unpacked his bags. Imagine it, Sanders leading the Saints down the field while brass bands roar outside the dome. Murals of his face splashed on French Quarter walls. His jersey hanging in shop windows before he's even played a down. That's not a contract, it's cultural canonization. And where's Sanders in all this? Silent. His silence is deafening, and that's exactly the point. Every day he doesn't commit, Cleveland grows more desperate, Baltimore grows more confident, and New Orleans grows more excited. He doesn't have to say a word because right now silence is leverage. And leverage is power. This is bigger than Shedeur Sanders. It's bigger than Cleveland, Baltimore, or New Orleans. It's about what kind of NFL we're heading into. For decades, franchises held the cards. Rookies had to prove themselves, pay their dues, wait their turn. Contracts were structured to protect the team, not the player. But Sanders has flipped that entire model on its head. He's proven that brand, culture, and charisma can be just as valuable as touchdowns and Super Bowl rings. Nike knows it. Fans know it. Wall Street knows it. And the owners? They're terrified. Because if Sanders cashes in, the precedent is set. Future rookies won't just demand contracts, they'll demand power. They'll demand to be treated not as employees, but as partners, as franchises within the franchise. That's the revolution. And Sanders is the spark. Now let's pause for the fans because they're the emotional core of this chaos. Cleveland fans are hanging on by a thread. Some cling to hope, believing Sanders will choose loyalty over money and culture. Others are resigned, already bracing themselves for the heartbreak they've lived with their whole lives. Baltimore fans, on the other hand, are buzzing. You can feel their energy, tweets, mock-ups, highlight edits already calling Sanders the missing piece of the dynasty. They see him not just as a quarterback, but as the final infinity stone for their Super Bowl run. And New Orleans fans? It's spiritual for them. They're already ready to crown him. For them, Sanders represents more than wins, he represents identity, community, hope. That's what makes their pitch so powerful. It's not about football, it's about belonging. So what does Sanders actually want? That's the $1 million, or should I say $275 million, question. If he stays in Cleveland, he risks drowning in dysfunction. But if he wins, he becomes a legend who broke a curse. If he goes to Baltimore, he risks being part of a risky experiment. But if it works, he changes the game forever. If he goes to New Orleans, he risks shouldering the weight of a city's expectations. But if he thrives, he becomes a cultural icon as well as a football star. Each path is different. Each path leads to a different kind of immortality. Meanwhile, the NFL front office is scrambling. Tampering whispers are everywhere. Executives are muttering about fairness, about balance, about protecting small markets from being raided. But let's be real, the toothpaste is out of the tube. The league can't stuff this back in. And you know what? That's why this moment feels so historic. This isn't just a contract, it's a crossroads. It's the moment where football takes a hard turn into the future. So where does it end? No matter what Sanders chooses, the story's already written in history books. He's not just a quarterback, he's the player who forced the NFL to evolve. And Cleveland? Baltimore? New Orleans? They're just the first battleground in a war that's going to reshape the league forever. This franchise has been begging for a savior for decades. Quarterback after quarterback has walked through that tunnel, only to flame out in spectacular fashion. Johnny Manziel was supposed to be flashy, Baker Mayfield was supposed to be gritty, Deshaun Watson was supposed to be the big swing. None of it worked. And then along came Shedeur Sanders. A rookie who didn't just bring talent, but energy, swagger, brand power. Suddenly, Cleveland wasn't just another team in the AFC North. They were relevant. People were talking about them on national shows, not just local radio. Nike was printing Shedeur shirts faster than factories could keep up. For a moment, the Browns actually looked like they'd escaped their own curse. Now, they're staring at losing it all before it even truly begins. And that's the cruelest part. If Shedeur walks away, it won't just sting, it'll confirm every narrative Cleveland fans dread, that their city is where stars go to die, not where legacies are born. Now contrast that with Baltimore. The Ravens are dangling something Cleveland can't: innovation. Their pitch to Sanders is basically, why play it safe when you can change the sport? The dual quarterback system isn't just a gimmick. It's an idea that could define the next decade of football. Lamar Jackson, a former MVP, and Sanders, the poised young star, playing off each other like fire and ice. Think about the possibilities. Sanders reading defenses with precision while Lamar stretches the field with his legs. Defenses wouldn't know whether to bring extra blitzers or drop into coverage. And in the process, Sanders would go down not just as a Super Bowl winner, but as a pioneer. And Baltimore fans? They're already salivating. This isn't just about another playoff run. This is about rewriting the playbook for generations. But then there's New Orleans. Their pitch is quieter but no less powerful. They're not promising to revolutionize the game, they're promising to give Sanders a kingdom. The Saints aren't pitching numbers, they're pitching meaning. Remember how Drew Brees became more than just a quarterback? He became the heartbeat of a city still recovering from Katrina, the man whose leadership went far beyond the football field. That's the story New Orleans is offering Sanders. They're saying, come here and you're not just a QB. You're family. You're our culture. You're our hero. That's not something you can buy with cap space. That's something deeper. And if you don't think that matters, you're underestimating what Shedeur Sanders represents. He's already bigger than football. His Nike drops sell like Yeezys, his brand resonates far beyond the gridiron. Pair that with New Orleans' cultural identity? That's rocket fuel for legend. And yet, through all this noise, Sanders says nothing. No tweets, no press conferences, no reassurance to Cleveland fans begging for answers. Just silence. And that silence is deafening. Because here's the thing, silence keeps him in control. Every word he doesn't say makes the offers get louder, the panic grow deeper, the hype grow stronger. He doesn't have to campaign, he just has to wait while the world campaigns for him. That's genius. That's leverage. That's power. Now let's zoom out because the league itself is trembling. If Sanders actually cashes in on one of these $275 million offers, the precedent is set. Rookie contracts will never look the same again. The old model of prove it for a few years then get paid will be gone. From now on it'll be, if I've got a brand, if I've got leverage, you pay me now. Owners are terrified of this shift. Because once it starts they can't stop it. Players will come into the league not as employees, but as partners, as walking empires. That balance of power, between franchise and player, tips forever. And Sanders? He's not just negotiating for himself. He's negotiating for every rookie who comes after him. Fans feel the weight of this more than anyone. In Cleveland, the mood swings between denial and despair. One day, fans are clinging to hope, saying Sanders wouldn't abandon them. The next, they're resigned to heartbreak, muttering that Cleveland just isn't meant to have nice things. In Baltimore, the hype is insane. Fans are already making mock jerseys, already imagining Lombardi trophies, already talking dynasty. And in New Orleans? It's almost religious. The city has wrapped itself around the idea of Sanders, even though it's just an offer. They see him not as a player but as a chosen one. And if he actually picks them, it'll feel like destiny. The truth is, no matter what Sanders chooses, he's already shifted the ground beneath the NFL. He's 21 years old and has forced billionaires, executives, and entire fan bases to bow to his timeline. That's not hype, that's control. And the options in front of him? They're all legendary. Cleveland is the hardest road, the riskiest gamble, but the one that could make him mythic if he succeeds. Baltimore is the revolutionary path, the one where he changes football itself alongside Lamar Jackson. New Orleans is the cultural path, the one where he becomes more than a quarterback, he becomes an icon of a city that breathes football. No matter what, Shedeur Sanders wins. The only question is, what kind of immortality does he want? Meanwhile, the Browns sit and stew. They've already gone from bargaining to begging. They're talking about restructuring deals, moving money, cleaning house and management, all in an effort to prove to Sanders that they're worthy of keeping him. But here's the truth, desperation doesn't sell. You can't beg a superstar to stay. And Sanders knows that. That's why this saga feels like a tragedy in the making for Cleveland. The franchise finally found their savior, and they might watch him walk out the door before he ever has the chance to truly save them. And so, here we are. 3 doors. 3 futures. 3 kinds of immortality. Cleveland offers Sanders the chance to become a curse breaker. Baltimore offers him the chance to become a revolutionary. New Orleans offers him the chance to become a cultural legend. The clock is ticking. The league is watching. The fans are losing their minds. And Shedeur Sanders? He's calm, silent, holding the keys to the NFL's future like it's just another Sunday drive. Now here's where I'll toss it back to you. If you were Shedeur Sanders, which path would you choose? Do you take Cleveland's impossible gamble, Baltimore's revolution, or New Orleans' cultural immortality? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this isn't just about football anymore. It's about history. And if you want to ride every twist, every turn, every meltdown in this saga with me, don't just watch, subscribe. Because Shedeur Sanders isn't just negotiating a contract. He's negotiating the future of football. And trust me, you do not want to miss how this story ends.